Hello, so today we're going to be going through my first aid kit. I just went through and put this back together. I put two of them together, one for the car and one for the home. So let's go through them both and talk about why I chose certain things to be in there and why I recommend that you put them in your first aid kit too. So this is the first aid kit that we have for the home. I'm not going to say it has everything in it, but it has, for us, for right now, some of the essentials. Something that I'd like to make note of is that, look, you can open it with one hand. So let's say you cut your fingers on one hand, or, you know, for whatever reason, your hand, maybe you burned your hand or something, you can't use both your hands to open it up. This first aid kit that I have, it's really easy to open up with one hand, whereas this one that's for the car, it's got a zip, and it's, you know, eventually I'll change it out, but this would be a real pain in the butt if one of my hands, for whatever reason, was either in pain or disabled. This would be much harder to get into with a disabled hand or disabled fingers. So anyway, our home first aid kit, let's get into what's inside of it. Things that I think are essential, apart from everything. Most essential, I would say, are pain medications. I'm not going to show, that has some personal information on here, but some pain medication. This is oxycodone for severe pain. And, you know, expiration dates on medications. There's been updates by the CDC that antibiotics and pain medications are safe to use even after the expiry. They just lose potency. So they extend the lives. There's a program that extends the life of all sorts of medications. So if you have medicines that are expired, go ahead and check that out. I'll try to find the website and I'll put it in the description down below. And you can look up your medication and find the actual expiry date, not what's written on the bottle. So, pain medicine, antibiotics, I think are essential to have in a first aid kit, because there might be a time where you can't immediately get to the doctor, or maybe the doctor's scheduling out, maybe you're on vacation, maybe you're on some trip, you know, camping, something like that, and God forbid, something bad happens to you and you get sick and you need antibiotics but can't get to the doctor. I think antibiotics are essential to have in any first aid kit, along with pain medication. Obviously, okay, Band-Aids. Everyone knows I got some kid Band-Aids because my kids feel much, much better when they have the fancy decorative ones. So, personal choice, I got that. Different size bandages. I just put them all in one thing. So I've got big pad bandages that are adhesive, more big pad bandages that are adhesive, and some non-adhesive bandages. All different sizes, all the way down to, like, you know, ½ an inch. I just put them all here for convenience, because I'm not trying to go through the whole box and get through everything. So I know, okay, most of my bandages are here. I could just take them all out and then deal with the cleanup later and, you know, get what I need from the box. Having some type of gauze, I think, is quite important. Medical tape to secure your gauze. Antiseptic spray or antiseptic cream. Just simple, like, Neosporin type thing would help. And we've also got, this is a antibacterial ointment. It's providone iodine ointment, so it's antibacterial. It's good for disinfecting wounds. Something I really like having in my kits are finger cots. I think that finger cots are a nice addition to have in any first aid kit, because if you injure your finger, you can keep the area sterile after you've bandaged it and put some sort of antibacterial ointment on there, and and you can put the finger cot on there and, you know, do the dishes or whatever it is that you need to do without worrying about compromising the sterility of your wound. Then, let's see, okay, so those are a couple things. Okay, another essential. So essentials, yeah, I mean, all of it is really kind of essential, but my favorite things that I have in here are the antibiotics, the pain medication, these little guys. Of all the bandages, these are my favorite. These butterfly closures work just as good as stitches, and I have used them in instances where stitches would be required. For example, I got stabbed in the knee with a knife and I didn't go to the hospital. I used these and it healed wonderfully. I also got a cut. There's a scar I'll show you. Pretty decent scar right there. You could see it was a pretty decent cut. You know, stitches probably would have been required. I used these butterfly closures and it worked swell. Worked great. So I think those are, I like having these a lot in my kit. Next, essential. Next to antibiotics, next to pain medication, next to butterfly closures, bleed stop, some type of coagulating powder for people who have for people who are on any type of blood thinner who might not be able to stop their bleeding right away. This will stop it. For any sort of deep wound that will not stop bleeding, this will stop it. My husband, thank goodness he didn't lose his finger, but he almost cut off the tip of his finger and it wouldn't stop bleeding. But guess what? Bleed stop stopped the bleeding in seconds. It works. I've used this a few times on some pretty serious cuts, and I'm telling you, this stuff works great. I've only used this brand. I can't speak personally for other brands. I'm not, you know, prepping them in any way, but I'm saying I've used this and I'm telling you that it works. I recommend it for sure. There's some like loose bandages, kind of smaller ones that are in there. Thermometer, good to have in your first aid kit, of course. So that's my home first aid kit, and we will move on. I'm going to pack this all up off camera and then we'll move on to the car first aid kit. Here's the car first aid kit. You can see it's got this little handy pouch here. What I'm going to put here is my blood type, contact information, emergency contact information, and address, stuff like that. So if I do for whatever reason get injured in my car, like car accident, or maybe go out on a hike and this is with me, this can be really beneficial. That can be beneficial information for either, you know, bystanders or local responder, you know, emergency responders to use to help them. So in my first aid kit for the car, I've got antibiotic cream for any sort of wound. This is something that I think is great. Hydrocortisone cream. This is an anti-itching cream. So if you come into contact with like poison ivy or some other type of plant that gives you some type of reaction, some skin reaction, you can use this to help alleviate the itching, so that way you're not scratching open your skin on a trail or when you're out. I've got ibuprofen in here, so pain reliever, fever reducer, medication, again, type sterile gauze, and some tape. So this tape can be used for securing the sterile gauze. Got more of the butterfly closures that you guys know that I like so much. We've got more antibiotic. So we've got our antibiotic, our pain medication, and finger cots. Again, the same thing. If you're out, you know, hiking, camping, or doing whatever it is that you do outside and you get cuts on your fingers and you do everything to clean it and sterilize it, and you're still going to be outside for a while, these can come in handy until you get back home. Again, all different types, sizes of Band-Aids that are in here, and of course, bleed stop. And then I think really and then a thermometer. I think the only different thing that I really have in here that's not in my house kit is this emergency poncho. I might throw some hot hands in here or something and just kind of make it like a car kit in general on top of being a first aid kit, but this is all good stuff to have in your car with you. The only other thing that I have but I didn't show is my tourniquet. So I've got a tourniquet for both the house and a tourniquet for the car. I think it's important to have that to stop bleeding. You know, and you can use that in conjunction with, you can use that with the bleed stop if you get some sort of major, I don't know, gash in your leg or something. So definitely practice with that. I would say something that I don't have that I would add, sorry for the shakiness of the camera, something that I don't have that I would add would be like sterile gloves and maybe a like a mouth guard, some type of a mouth guard in case you have to like perform CPR. But I don't think current CPR even uses breaths anymore. It's just palpitations. If I'm not correct, please correct me in the comments down below. And I'm curious to see what you guys keep in your first aid kits at home, and if you keep one in your car. If there's any products that you agree with me on, that you disagree with me on, or if there's anything extra that I didn't talk about that you really think that I should add, or what you think that other people should add, go ahead and leave that in the comments below. And I'm really looking forward to getting into some discussions with you guys. Thank you. See you next time.